Hello and welcome to the best mods for Xbox PC, where we will be looking at some of the best mods to check out each and every single day, or at least that's the aim. There'll be something here for everyone, definitely worth checking out. Use the chapters where you need them. If you do get anything out of this, consider liking, subscribing. It goes a really long way. Appreciate your time. Let's get into it.
We have probably one of the most remarkable mods that we've seen in terms of immersion. And this incredible mod is called Expanded Cities by Deity Venji, and this thing is absolutely mind-blowing. It completely changes New Atlantis and Neon in such a drastic way, it almost becomes unrecognizable. The change is so vast that we're just going to have to take a little while to soak in so many of the different changes because it is rather remarkable. Expanded Cities is basically aiming to recreate many of the various cities and towns in Starfield. The sheer size and scope of this project is massive because the transformation is so vast that New Atlantis is completely different. It's very hard to see anything that resembles the old New Atlantis. With this mod, every little aspect and area has been sort of changed, moved, improved, and it is honestly remarkable. It really does feel much more like a city now. It was always a little crazy how small New Atlantis was, but now with something like this mod, we just have such a huge amount of buildings and little details that add so much more vibrance and new life into New Atlantis. All the shops and everything else remain. It's purely just a visual change, but that in itself has a huge impact. All the good bits of New Atlantis kind of remain, particularly say something like the fire and many of the other little bits and pieces. You'll also have your NPCs still walking around and everything seems to be unaffected in terms of nav mesh. So you can see here we are in the mass district, and what a change. One quick thing which is rather remarkable is that the map has also sort of been updated to reflect some of these changes, which is pretty unreal. One thing that's incredible that this mod does so well is it really does make New Atlantis feel like a giant city. When you load this mod in, you will definitely get the same kind of feeling. It's rather remarkable what adding a lot of buildings and changing things up like this can really do for Starfield and New Atlantis. It really does feel like a completely new city. There's so many more little areas, little pieces of artwork, and it's just gloriously detailed. And you can find the lodge, and look how different the lodge area looks compared to the previous times. The sheer scale is amazing. What will be interesting is how this might impact other mods that do put little chests and things around New Atlantis. I wonder if there would be a conflict. It shouldn't. I think you just have to put those on the bottom of the load order. As long as you're following the rule, which is really important to stress about this mod, is that the load order for this, you have to place the expanded cities below any full master / medium master mod that touches the cities. That goes for Neon as well, which we'll check Neon out soon. I'll show an example of the load order shortly, just to give you an idea so there's no mistakes or muck-ups. Now, it's important to know that this mod will be coming to the Xbox probably within the next month. So unfortunately, yes, it's not on creations just yet, but do know it will be coming. But it's such a crazy good mod. I had to show this off as soon as I could. So a few things to consider when you're installing this mod. Make sure you're not in Jemison or Neon. That will cause problems for sure in your save. And the same again for when you uninstall. Definitely do not be in these areas when you're adding or removing this mod. I'd also recommend maybe not building huge giant ships in New Atlantis with this mod. You might want to consider doing that somewhere else just in case. The performance hit wasn't too noticeable, but I'm sure it is there and you may notice it more substantially on your end. So just be mindful. There should be a performance hit to some degree with this mod. So something certainly to be aware of, particularly when it comes to building big ships. Yeah, you just want to be mindful that it's probably not the best idea, just as a super precautious measure, because you wouldn't want to start building a big ship and then the game crash or something. That's just my thought anyway. I haven't tested this, but that's what I would be doing anyway. The other thing that's important to realize is that this will not be compatible with the highway mod or any other mods that take up or use areas where the new giant buildings are on will be overwritten. Also note, this is probably going to break a lot of the elevator mods, but I haven't tested this. But on the flip side of that, there are quite a lot of mods that are going to be completely compatible with this when the correct load order is ensured, which we'll walk through at the end. Now, when it comes to Neon offers something very starkly different to New Atlantis. Evidence of severe destruction to all infrastructure surrounding Neon City, giving it a very, very different look and feel. We have these giant skyscrapers that have been deteriorating for what seems like a millennia or a long time, surrounding the inner core of what is the last remaining hope for Neon. Really does create a very stark atmosphere but it looks amazing. But here you can see just how much Neon has changed from before and after. It is absolutely chalk and cheese when it comes to this mod, adding a completely new character and dimensions to Neon, definitely giving it a lot of personality in the realms of what it kind of represents. The mod adds a ton of new screens, advertisement, those giant skyscrapers, and so much more little details from lighting, and much of the exterior cells have been changed in so many different ways. For example, you have like what appears to be like an abandoned camp to just add in a lot more detail overall. Now, while we're on Neon, I highly recommend pairing this with a mod called Neon Vertigo, and Expanded Cities and Neon Vertigo are compatible, and Neon Vertigo will focus on the interior, which makes the interior so much more vibrant and just overall expands the height to the city and many other things which we've covered before in another video. I'll try to remember to put the link on the top right just so you can have a good look at it. But it's a fantastical mod, and these two mods are suited for each other, changing the interior and exterior of Neon beyond recognition. In summary, Expanded City is a mind-blowing mod, completely changing New Atlantis and Neon City like never before, adding so much more depth, richness, and changing the overall tone and feel of spending times in these areas. It's an absolute brilliant mod. You have to check this one out. So when it comes to the load order for Expanded City, most likely the best scenario for everyone is ensuring Expanded Cities is very close to the bottom, ensuring that it is below any full master or medium master mods that touch any of the cities. And keep in mind that's New Atlantis, Neon, and potentially others in the future. The tricky thing is many of the mods don't necessarily tell you if it's a full master or a medium master mod. So if you are unsure and it's a mod that substantially changes these areas, it's most likely going to be a medium, in some cases a master. So you would be putting something like Neon Vertigo above Expanded Cities. Now, when it comes to a small master, something like New Atlantis Lights On, we were to download this. And since we know that this particular mod does alter New Atlantis, and this is a small master, now it doesn't say that, but however I know it is, we want this under Expanded Cities. So the Neon's above because it's a full master, I believe, or a medium. So in all those cases, you want it above Expanded Cities. New Atlantis Lights is just a small. We want that under Expanded Cities. Here we have a little bit of a fun mod. This one is called Build a Dancer. This one is by Stack GX, and it adds 2 buildable dancers. You have the females and then you've got the males there as well, but you can build as many as you want at your outpost, or quite a few of them. And hopefully this dinosaur does not come over, because that'd be pretty funny watching the dancers get attacked by a dinosaur. We should almost stir it up just to see what happens. Oops, that was a one shot. So these NPCs are pretty much just going to be dancing. Not necessarily a mod for me, but this could be something perfect for you, and you're able to build them on your outpost as well as on your ship. They pretty much all they do is they're just dances. They're just going to be dancing 24/7, doing a lot of the same moves that you're sort of accustomed to in Starfield. Now, there is a bit of a trick to build these on your ship or outpost, so I'll just see if I can sort of give you some directions on how to do that. And do know once you remove your outpost, they will disappear as well. They don't have any other special abilities or anything else. They are purely just dances, so something to keep in mind. So you will note that when it comes to building them in your spaceship, it is going to be very touch and go. So normally there was a little bit of a technique where you can sort of have them half sitting on a ledge, but that doesn't seem to be working with this. So we'll just see if we can find anywhere to place them. Okay, so we got the male guy. The female one seems to be a bit harder to place. So just after a bit of testing, they're pretty easy to get working and spawn on your ship. So if you're finding that they're not being able to place, just exit your ship, enter your ship, go somewhere where there's enough space, and you should be able to spawn them, no worries. So you can see here, I'm having issues now with the male dancer. If I really wanted to get the male dancer spawning, I would just exit the ship, come back, and there's a good chance it's working. But what I suggest doing is have your dancing male selected before you exit the ship, and then when you enter, it may be already automatically selected, so there's a good chance there. Anyway, interesting little mod, but I thought I'd include it as people might like this kind of thing. This next mod is going to be absolutely glorious for your outpost. Now, keep in mind, if you want this mod to take effect, you're going to have to rebuild these buildings affected. But for us to really see the impacts of this mod, we're going to have to go to the nighttime. Do note I have the pitch black mod on, so we're going to see the effects tenfold. Now, I just realized I happened to pick one of the rare planets that has no nighttime, that has no nighttime. So we're going to just jump to another planet, and here it is in all its glory. A little change to your landing pad that adds so much more detail detail and just looks much more realistic. This one is called Rabbit's Real Lights Landing Pads, and this is going to add a light to your large landing pad, which looks like this. It looks fantastic. Really nice addition. Now, this is the pitch black mod, just a reminder. So everything is pitch black, which makes the landing pad stick out like nothing else. And here is what the small landing pad looks like. So a lot less detail, but still gives you a lot of extra light to land on. So a little bit more realistic. So this could definitely be an awesome feature to add to your outpost. It's a nice little mod. And this one is done by LaFarrell. So a cool little change. And there are some other lighting mods we'll be checking out in some of the upcoming videos that have a lot more impact. But this is a nice little change to your outpost, particularly the large landing pad. That looks fantastic. Do note that this won't impact your cargo link or your cargo link inter-system landing bays. So just something to keep in mind. Cool little mod. Let's keep moving. Here we have our first example of what will be probably hopefully something like Trackmania in the future, where we'll have some crazy road systems or tracks to sort of test our skills and race. And this is pretty much the first mod that's giving it a crack. And this is pretty much giving you some access to some roads around some of the major areas and cities. Some of them very limited, others much more expansive, in particular New Atlantis and Sidonia. But this is going to give us access to some roads across all of New Atlantis, in particular being the biggest track and the most worthwhile sort of covering. Crazy thing is it also comes with these huge lifts which you can access, which allow you to gain access to all parts of New Atlantis. One thing though, it would be cool if we could remove some of these gaps, because you may find that you get stuck in them. But if you have Shades mod, it's pretty much an easy fix. But yes, as you can see, I have managed to get stuck between the lift, but just something to note, be mindful of the edges of the lift. But this mod offers something very, very special as we get our first sort of road that we can drive in Starfield. So it certainly is interesting getting a first look at what this could mean and be like for us in the future. This mod is called Galactic Highway Network, and it is created by the Milk Artist. Now, unfortunately, this is not on creations yet either, but give it some time, this will end up on creation as well. But it's such a fascinating mod, it's really worth covering, just so you know what's coming. And plus, it really does give insight into what we can expect in the future. I can really see some almost Trackmania type trick tracks. And the intention with this mod is to create a track around New Atlantis and Sidonia for the most part. There are a few other roads in some of the other areas, but they're really not sort of anything worthwhile covering. But New Atlantis by far is the most exciting version of the various roads added. And you can see in the map, it's added and it's got the 2 different lifts and a few different areas where you will be able to access parts of New Atlantis via the road. Now, the other cool thing it adds these little other areas where you can sort of hop off and go bush or go off the road. And you will find in some instances there will be trees and stuff like that popping out of certain areas. Keep in mind, I have a mod on that adds a lot more vegetation and rocks, so that's going to be more obvious for me, maybe less for you. But here we can go around and we can pretty much drive around all of New Atlantis. And if you wanted to, you'd just sort of be able to boost up and sort of jump the gap and then go into New Atlantis this way if you wanted to. So it does add a little bit of a feature like that. Not such direct paths, but it's a good start. Then what we need is we need a loop-to-loop and a few other exciting things to really turn this up a notch. But for the first mod that's adding roads to certain areas in the game, it certainly adds a lot of character and a new and cool way to try get around. The only thing I noticed with this is that, at least for all the mods I had loaded in, I've had a lot of crashes and issues. Not sure if it's related to this, but just note you may experience or could potentially experience something like this. And of course, the other thing is not on Xbox yet, but it will be coming. At least that's the plan. But I suspect we will be seeing many, many more mods like this. And I could definitely see down the track some Hot Wheels and Trackmania type things going on. And of course, we got these awesome lifts, which we can just press a button, which is going to call it up. And if we look down, it comes up all the way from the bottom floor. So it can take a little while. Otherwise, you can just drive down it really. So for instance, there's a little break in the fence there, which I'm pretty sure that's almost intentional, because we can do a bit of a Trackmania and pretty much jump the gap with a little bit of boost. There we go. But a cool little interesting aspect to Starfield. I really like to see more things like this, especially when it comes to adding roads and racetracks and hopefully even some AI that can drive vehicles themselves. I'm sure that would be really hard to introduce, but maybe something down the track that is possible. But very cool mod. I'll just quickly show you the track at Sidonia as well, because that's probably the only other real worthwhile one covering. But the mod also includes a tiny road at Gungarin. I'll just show you that now. Then we have Gungarin, which just has a very minor change, as most of this area is off-road anyway. Doesn't really need a road. However, it would be cool to see like a dirt track or something around this city. So we'll just head into the back of Gungarin, where we'll find this little area or this road. and you'll see a sign saying parking. How you know you're in the right area. Just go down here and it's got a nice little parking slot. Something pretty random and funny. Not sure who that dude is. Let me know in the comments. So a small little change in Gangaran, Akila, and a few other locations, but nothing really of note just yet in those locations. When it comes to the track on Sidonia, it is a little bit more linear and no elevators. So this one could make an interesting track to try get like a lap time almost, but it does the same thing. It just goes all the way around Sidonia. And I almost prefer this one just because you can try race around it. So it's kind of an interesting concept for Sidonia particularly. Just to give you an idea, we would start off here, and then if we just quickly boost. Now we will hopefully down the track get unlimited boost for everyone, not just people who can use God mode on PC, because that will be pretty advantageous, particularly when it comes to racing and drifting around these tracks. But this gives you a cool little experiment. He's even got some little things in the way just to make you switch lanes, add in some overall difficulty to the track. But you get an idea of how fun this could be in terms of racing around in Starfield. Never would have thought this would be something that we could have, but here we are racing around a track around Sidonia. Now you could take in the views as well. You could just, go on a little bit of a daily cruise and just enjoy the sights. But I reckon this for racing is going to be a lot of fun. We just need some jumps. Here's sort of a jump. Hey, pretty mad. So it gives you an idea of what is coming and possible. It's a really fantastic mod. Nice to see. And again, you will just have to hang tight, people on Xbox. This will come eventually. Just give it a little bit more time. But I'm sure we'll be seeing more and more of this stuff, hopefully. Little taste, little teaser. Let's get into the next one. This next mod is certainly somewhat unique in terms of how they've decided to structure adding their own ships to the game. This is cool because it adds a unique points of interest called Aardvark Shipyards, and this mod is done by Bobba Louie. So let's go check this location out. Now I have to say this is probably one of the cooler ways of adding ships to the game, adding your own dealership. And I love how all the ships are on display and we're able to go up and purchase them from a few different locations. But isn't this incredible? Certainly cool to see this, and I hope we see more things like this pop up, because it certainly adds a really nice way of us being able to inspect and look at the ships without even having to purchase them. So you can hold on to your hard-earned credits and inspect them all. And what's even better about this mod is that this mod has been pretty much prepared for your vehicle as well. It has vehicle access to all the different ships as well as just your normal stairs. But here we can actually drive around and go visit all the various ships using our car, which is pretty freaking unreal. So perfectly catered for walking, jetpacking, and your vehicle. But here we go. So we can actually drop down, exit the vehicle, and check out the first awesome ship that we have here. So the nice thing is we can just jump on board. So we can actually enter. It's not locked. However, we can't just steal it. We're going to have to either purchase it from right here within the ship or from a terminal. So we've made it to the cockpit. So you will note that you won't be able to enter the pilot seat. But if we did want to purchase, if this is a ship we're after, we can go into the terminal, which will be located within the ship. And the nice touch is from each of the terminals, we can access and purchase all the various ships here. This is such a good way of adding ships to the game. Make it nice and easy. Could be cool to have maybe a buy all option for the big spenders, but this is nice. So we've got so many different ships here. So what we'll do is we'll purchase the ship that we're in, which is the Ballroom Blitz, 270,000. So we'll click to add it to our fleet, and bing bada boom, it's added to our fleet. So now that we've purchased it, we can go onto our ship list and have a look. And here we have the Ballroom Blitz, which we just purchased. It looks freaking awesome. I love the look. It looks like a nice little Class A fighter. So now that we've purchased it, I don't believe we can sit in the pilot seat yet. So these are all sort of displays. So they're going to stay there permanently for us to sort of have a look and suss out. Then what we can do is we can jump back in the car. Also noting there's a few little vending machines and cool little bits of detail all over the place. And not to mention, there is just some really nice, cool looking ships. It feels like it's almost like a point of interest to explore. Another thing to mention before we look at some of the other ships is we can actually go up to the platform where we landed, and there is a little office where we can actually talk to some of the NPCs that will also allow us to purchase the ships directly from them, saving you having to go down and into the ships. So pretty much all the bases are covered to make this as easy as possible, except for when you park your car inside the door and you can't get in. Now that we move the car, we can head in and we'll be able to talk to a few of the different NPCs here. So do note they're not voiced, but there's also a ship technician here where we can repair and modify our ship, buy our vehicle, all the normal stuff, making it very, very useful and helpful. So if we want to switch our ship now to the one we just bought, we can go to modify, flick it to the Ballroom Blitz. So now that we've switched the ships, we can head out and we can see that we've got the new Ballroom Blitz. So super helpful functionality all around. And we can also just go into the sales brochure. And this is a nice touch that I really like, is that we can go through and have a look in a bit more detail about the ship, the story behind it. So some really cool little side stuff to certainly add adds a bit more of a connection to existing in someone else's ship. And then here finally is the terminal where we can just purchase all the various vessels, making it kind of a mind-blowing experience. All the little details are well thought out because it allows it to be so easy and accessible, whether you're on the ship or inside the control or in the main shop, you'll be able to purchase the vessels. Now, I really wish I could go through all these ships in more detail, but this is already taking so long, and I've only covered a few mods in this video, so unfortunately, not going to be able to cover them, but they look so awesome, and I'm definitely going to give some of these a try, but it's going to have a mix of everything, and I'm sure one of these ships for you, probably my favorite. I really like the look of this one right here, but everything looks fantastic. It really is a freaking awesome way to do the ship mods, probably the best way I've seen it done. The next step, which would be awesome, is seeing all of these as spawnable in space, so you could board them as well and capture them. But freaking unreal, such a good mod. Let's keep moving. This next mod is perfect for the Star Wars load order. This is the Jemison to Coruscant, adding this beautiful reimage of Jemison, completely converting it to a gloriously detailed Coruscant, which you'll see in your map. Now your version will have the title renamed as well. It won't say Alpha Centauri anymore, it will say Coruscant. Now from space, it doesn't look too bad. Some areas look a little strange, but otherwise it's quite a nice change, and this is going to be perfect for those that are building their Star Wars list. This is one I've had on for a while in my Star Wars load order, and quite a few people have asked me on Xbox if this was available, and finally it is, so worth checking out. This one is done by the legend Radical Clown Friend, so now you can find it on Creation as well as on PC. Nice little mod.
Thank you very much for watching. If you get anything out of this, consider liking, subscribing, commenting. Let me know what you think about some of these mods. You can let me know what mods you'd like me to cover, or if there's anything on your mind, just drop it in the comment. Thanks again, and peace.